Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra book. It is witty, clever, and makes you think. So I want to continue reading it. Okay. We're in the section titled The Night Song. Let's begin. Bismillah. Night has come. Now all fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come, only now all the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is the song of a lover. So here, it's talking about his soul. So at night, people are usually in an embrace, calm, comfortable. You can hear the noise and hear the peaceful sounds, less cars. And there's always this constant feedback loop of a fountain. So his soul maybe is always in motion, self-feeding in a way, like a fountain. And when it says the song of a lover, sounds a bit romantic, so someone still who has the capacity to show affection. Something unstilled, unstillable is within me. It wants to be voice. A craving for love is within me. It speaks the language of love. So a craving of love. Light am I, that I were night. But this is my loneliness, that I am girt with light. That I am girt with light. So, light am I. When I first read that, I'm thinking, someone who isn't burdened with too much agony, self-loathing, sin, right? Someone's light. Maybe this is a hint at knowledge. So, because we have examples of fountains of knowledge, someone being a beacon of light, of goodness, of a way out of darkness. And when you are more introspective and you seek knowledge, it is a more lonelier path because you're not always being a social butterfly in groups, doing small talk. You are on a pursuit that makes it a bit more of a lonely road. That I were dark and nocturnal. How I would suck at the breasts of light. Sounds like something of a little baby. So in the nighttime, being more vulnerable, being held, caressed, nurturing the mind in a different way. And even you, I would bless, you little sparkling stars and glowworms up there, and be overjoyed with your gifts of light. So a glowworm is obviously, sounds like a firefly, something tinier, that light. Sparkling stars, not as big as the planets, luminaries, but they are something above us. But I live in my own light. I drink back into myself the flames that break out of me. Aha! So I was kind of on the right track. So I drink back into myself. The fountains, they're self-feeding, right? So if you're a fountain, you think of knowledge, comes back, you build upon it, keeps coming back, and then you get deeper and more analytical, deductive, ontological. So the flames that break out of me, so it can be in a both burning the dead wood, revealing something, destroying something, but whatever happens, the change that comes out, whether due to anger or something of just cleansing, you take that experience and you bring it back in and you analyze it and reflect and build upon it. I do not know the happiness of those who receive. I have often dreamed that even stealing must be more blessed than receiving. So I think this gets at the beggar example. Because someone who steals takes. They don't beg. So they rather steal than beg. This gets into the question of... Okay, so let's look at it this way. When you steal, you are on the offensive. And you have the more of a less victim-y mentality. And you have more energy. It's not right. Theft is haram. But I think what he's getting at is the propelling. Whereas a beggar is more idle, sticking out their hands. Now, he mentions poverty, so we're not talking about someone like just receiving a gift. It appears like the person who just stands around expecting versus the one who is active and surviving. I think in my head something more apocalyptic, right? You're going around, zombie apocalypse, you're taking, right? It's not yours, you're not purchasing it. But if you stood there waiting for people to give you items, well, that is gonna lead to survival of the fittest. This is my poverty, that my hand never rests from giving. This is my envy, that I see waiting eyes and the lit up nights of longing. O wretchedness of all givers, O darkening of my sun, O craving to cravel, O craving to crave, O ravenous hunger and satiation. So this is my poverty, a hand that never rests from giving. I think he means a lot more in terms of knowledge. I don't think he means he's very charitable here, in terms of like giving alms or something, but rather dropping knowledge, that he never stops. This is my envy, that I see waiting eyes. So he's on the giving end, but he sees people who are like looking and waiting for something, and he can't stand to be them, but then he wonders what it would be like to be them. Lit up the nights of longing, the wretchedness of all givers. So maybe the weight of always having to be the one to give, how tiresome it could feel, maybe that's what he's getting at. They receive from me, but do I touch their souls? There is a cleft between giving and receiving, and the narrowest cleft is the last to be bridged. A hunger grows out of my beauty. I should like to hurt those for whom I shine. I should like to rob those to whom I give. Thus do I hunger for malice. Well, you said in his inner... Okay. So he's doing something tricky here, because I hunger for malice. I like to hurt those from... Because he just said he had the soul of a romantic one. So, this ability to switch up. Even you I would bless, when he said earlier. So looking down on people, and then looking down on them so much that you want to hurt them. That is the malicious spirit, then. To withdraw my hand when the other hand already reaches out to it. To linger like the waterfall, which lingers even while it plunges. Thus do I hunger for malice. Such revenge my fullness plots. Such spite wells up out of my loneliness. Aha. So we're getting at here loneliness. So he mentioned envy. Okay. And he's hinting at the wretchedness of givers. Sounds like he's also resenting his position. And spite. I've heard people say that when you give to people, they can sometimes resent you for actually helping them, and they'll start to envy you. So, when you do something out of spite, it is malicious, right? You're doing it to be petty. So, being isolated, because he mentioned, over the past that he is on that lonely path. Him being a fountain, he doesn't need to take the water from anyone else. But a craving for love is within me, he mentions. But yet says I hunger for malice. So we're getting at another just two-pronged approach to his duality here. Loneliness breeding spite. Resenting the need to be needed, maybe. Since he's always the one giving. My happiness is giving, died in giving. My virtue tired of itself in its overflow. So my virtue is tired of itself in its overflow. It's being so tired you become spiteful to those who need you. The danger of those who always give is that they lose their sense of shame. Have you no shame, sir? So, what could be an example where you are so giving that you can actually maybe start giving to the wrong people and then not hiding how much you give? And then you just become constantly milked and drained and taken advantage of? Because too much giving can come off, public giving that is, can maybe breed a certain aura around you, where people only see you as a means to an end, something to be extracted from, taken advantage of, you know. And the heart and hand of those who always mete out becomes callous from always meting out. Ooh, that's a good line right there. So, because your hand is like, or callous, because whenever you pressure your hand, you'll get a callus there. So, grabbing that much coins and using your hands that much to give out and give, it's become callous. That's a very interesting line. My eye no longer wells over at the shame of those who beg. My eye no longer wells over at the shame of those who beg. Like where people maybe, they just are so lowly that they don't have any kind of dignity and they don't want to work and they're at the point of begging. And you used to feel sorry for them, but now you don't feel sorry for them. I think that would be an example of like someone who doesn't want to help themselves but always begs, and then you start to like think at them a weird way. An example I would think of is like if you go see videos of Hollywood, the homeless that are smoking meth in the streets, you know, in the rain, they're all dirty and stinky. They don't want to follow the rules of the shelter and get sober, they want to just get high. And they like that freedom. So why would you get your eyes watery for them and their poverty when they've chosen to stay like that? Versus someone who's like a refugee and they were good people and their home got bombed or something, right? So some people have no shame in just getting high and being publicly disgusting. Whereas those who beg because they have no other choice at the moment. Perpetual beggars versus temporary beggars who are inflicted with a temporary trial is quite different. That maybe you can give so much that you no longer feel this sort of sadness. It becomes typical. You adapt to it. Maybe. My hand has grown too hard for the trembling of filled hands. So my hand has grown too hard. So he's given so much. He's now is like, because when you're trembling, you're give to me, sir, give to me, like that sickly wiggle that you have from someone who is destitute, right? Or the swing of someone who's high. So as they reach out, you're like, he mentioned calloused hands, so you're giving so much that it's like, it starts to hurt. Carpal tunnel a little bit, you know? This sort of metaphor, example that he's giving here, these symbolisms he's talking about, are really potent when you peel back the layers. His playing with words is brilliant. Where have the tears of my eyes gone? and the down of my heart. Oh, the loneliness of all givers. Oh, the taciturnity of all who shine. Many suns revolve in the void. To all that is dark, they speak with their light. To me they are silent. Oh, this is the enmity of the light against what shines. Merciless it moves in its orbit, unjust in its heart against all that shines, cold against suns. Now this is an interesting one right here. They say space is cold, right? And the heat of the sun, so you have that battle of which one's going to overcome the other, right? The heat over the cold over the heat. When a flame is snuffed versus when a heat can rise up against its cold surroundings and light the flame. A good example of that in a story is in Game of Thrones when Jon Snow is battling the Night King. And the Night King, they're at Winterfell during the Great Battle, and there's several examples. Okay, basically the White Walkers, the dragons flame, and like there's flames in let's go back. Hardhome. At Hardhome, there's just a scenes where there's fire and the White Walkers are so cold that when they walk through the flames go out, right? And their coldness overpowers the heat, which burns the others like dead, right? Burns the dead that takes them out. But they're so cold that the flames can't go on them. Then Daenerys has Drogo and blows Drogon or Drogo? Khal Drogo's her husband. Drogon, the black dragon, her main one, she riding on his neck, burns, and we all watching it. Oh, is he gonna die? But the Night King is so cold that dragon fire can't melt him or burn him. So that shows you something. And then there's the other example of Daenerys can't be burned by dragon fire, and she coldly torched a city. So she's a different kind of cold. She was warm and loving under the dragon's wing, and when the dragon turns on you and tortures you, you see how cold the dragon is. You see how reptilian the dragon is. Cold-blooded, reptilian, right? Cold against the sun. There's so many examples in literature. Euphemisms, symbols, allegory, metaphors, all that. So when he mentions here the cold against the sun, it's like heat and cold are at a battle against each other forever. And so the coldness of what orbits around is interesting. And darkness as well, that they've pointed out, right? The darkness of all of that. It's profound. Truly profound. And I find it to be quite interesting. Thus moves every sun. So again, pointing out that each sun is going to orbit around darkness and coldness, light and heat. The suns fly like a storm in their orbits. That is their motion. They follow their inexorable will. That is their coldness. Ooh, okay. This is perfect. Okay, so the sun flies like a storm in their orbits. That is their motion. They follow their inexorable will. That is their coldness. So cold that they're gonna follow that will. Okay? Very interesting. Because when you are going, this is the will, it will be. And then some people are like, whoa, that's brutal, that's cold. Right? It's like ruthless. Because it's so unbending, so unwavering. Oh, it is only you, you darkness, you dark ones, you nocturnal ones, who create warmth out of that which shines. So only through the cold can you actually appreciate the warmth and feel the warmth, because just in warmth, with the absence of cold, you would just feel the scorching heat, won't be able to appreciate it as much. In the night, you light your bonfire and keep warm, your fireplace, your heater. With the night comes the cold, and through that's where the warmth comes. It is only you who drink milk and refreshment out of the udders of light. Alas, ice is all around me. My hand is burned by the icy. Now this is an interesting one as well. Frostbite hurts. It does burn. There's a coldness that actually burns. If you've ever felt it, like your fingertips, man, oof, it's brutal. And on your nose, it hurts. And if you were to go snowboarding and you don't put sunscreen on your face sometimes, the light sunlight goes on the snow and comes back, you get a sunburn on your face. That reflects off of the ice or something. The whiteness, I don't know, it burns you. Even though it's cold. And so, being surrounded by ice, you can still get burned. Alas, thirst is within me that languishes after your thirst. Night has come. Alas, that I must be light, and thirst for the nocturnal and loneliness. Night has come. Now my craving breaks out of me. Like a well, I speak to crave. Night has come. Now all fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come. Now all the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is the song of a lover. Thus sang Zarathustra. So this is a little different ending. Thus sang Zarathustra. Before was thus spoke Zarathustra. So maybe he means this as a tune right here. Is that because it repeats. Night has come, alas that I must be light, and thirst for the nocturnal and loneliness. Night has come, now my craving breaks out of me. Like a well, to speak I crave. Night has come, now all fountains speak more loudly, and my soul too is a fountain. Night has come, now all the songs of lovers awaken, and my soul too is the song of a lover. So, when you have a tune to it, it sounds different, right? Because he's mentioning the callous from always meting out what he gives. His eyes no longer well for those who have no sense of shame. Hungers for malice. Spite wells up out of loneliness. Virtue tired of itself and its overflow. I drink back into myself the flames that break out of me. I do not know the happiness of those who receive. So he's always the one giving, never the one receiving. Sounds a lot like those who get, there's a word for it. Like people who are constantly giving, they get fatigued, overstimulated, always being needed, can wear you out. You don't really get rest, because you are the standard, and they flock to you, always with their hands out, but no one ever comes to you and asks you how you are. Reminds me a lot of moms, where they are helping their children, and people sometimes forget, they say, how are your children? And they sometimes forget to ask the mom, how are you? Right? How is she doing? She needs help. She's giving her all, and she gives so much that she gets depleted. And then some moms become resentful of always being needed. Overstimulated, overtouched. You know, they want some personal space and isolation to calm down and just decompress. This kind of hints at that. A very introspective one here for us. What do you think? A lot of ways you can look at it, and I do enjoy this book. If you'd like to join my blog and support the channel, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.